This is my AP research presentation on the influence of queer-based short-form content on political discourse by me, Michael Shafford. With TikTok being one of the most widely used platforms among Gen Z, I was curious about how it shapes political conversations, especially those affecting queer communities. This study looks at not just the content, but how it's crafted, delivered, and received. As a member of the LGBTQ community, a user of TikTok, and a very active person in politics, my connection to this research is very personal. My work builds on foundational studies like Abbotton's exploration of influencer culture, Hakefield's research on everyday politics, and Schiffman's work on memes as political tools. These help me understand how social media content operates in both obvious and subtle ways. I wanted to fill the gap of TikTok specifically as a source of social media, along with the fact that every video is made to be subjective. Because of that, I wanted to look at the rhetorical choices made by these creators. Ultimately, this project aims to provide a nuanced view of how short-form content impacts LGBTQ+ political discourse and what that means for both the creators and consumers. For my lit review, several key sources laid the foundation for understanding LGBTQ political behavior. Cravens gives a broad overview of how sexual and gender minorities engage with politics, noting that LGBTQ communities are often more politically active, especially when rights are being debated. This supports the idea that platforms like TikTok could be key spaces for activism and identity expression. Kaufman adds depth by exploring how cultural issues like sexuality influence party identification, pointing to long-term political shifts that have created new divisions around LGBTQ rights. Together, these works help explain why LGBTQ political messaging is both necessary and complex, providing a central context for how my research on TikTok plays into this. The second set of sources highlight more recent political trends in the evolving role of LGBTQ+ voters. The Human Rights Campaign and EGAN both show that LGBTQ voters are becoming a larger, more mobilized part of the electorate. These reports document a significant shift away from anti-LGBTQ political figures and show increased engagement, which aligns with my research into how TikTok content can drive political awareness and action. Davidson Schmick looks at how political parties frame LGBTQ issues in their platforms, offering insight into how queer communities and topics are selectively represented to appeal to or repel certain voters. These sources are critical in grounding my study in both the current political moment and broader patterns of media representation and voter behavior. To further contextualize my study, a third set of sources explores how LGBTQ identities are represented and framed in political communication. Copeland critiques vulnerability-based politics, arguing that while emotional appeals can be powerful, they often frame queer people primarily as victims. This matters for TikTok, where content can rapidly shift between empowerment and performative sadness, raising questions about where these portrayals affect viewers' understandings of LGBTQ+ issues. Goel Bieska offers a different but related lens, examining how the political consequences of disclosing one's identity work. Her work shows how visibility can both challenge stereotypes and invite backlash. This is especially relevant on TikTok, where creators can often lead with personal identity as a rhetorical and political tool, which may shape how viewers interpret their messages and trustworthiness. Lastly, McGrail's amicus brief brings in a legal framing, emphasizing the strategic language used to argue for LGBTQ rights in court. This source highlights how queer identity must often be positioned in certain ways to gain legitimacy, something that parallels how creators on TikTok navigate their public personas to gain credibility, empathy, or influence. Together, all these sources deepen the media analysis dimension of my study. This shows that political messaging about LGBTQ people is rarely neutral. It's shaped by platforms, strategies, and the pressures of visibility, which all play a crucial role in how content is produced and perceived on TikTok. This leads me to my research question, which is which facets of TikTok videos about LGBTQ issues are the most prevalent? To explore the influence of TikTok on LGBTQ politics, I chose an empirical approach, meaning that instead of relying on surveys, interviews, or hypothetical models, I focused on actual existing content. Specifically, I built a dataset made up of real TikTok videos that addressed LGBTQ political topics. This allowed me to observe authentic behaviors, trends, and messaging strategies in a natural social media environment. This approach is grounded in observable, measurable phenomena. It lets me examine not just what people are saying, but how they say it, when, and to whom. It also helps highlight how digital platforms like TikTok shape political discourse differently than traditional media. Rather than relying on intention or self-reporting, I focused on concrete video features, what was posted, how viewers interact with it, and what themes emerged. By focusing on public, widely circulated content from a variety of creators, ranging from media outlets to individual activists, my empirical method provided a strong foundation for pattern recognition and categorization later in the study. I compiled 28 videos for this, and once they were all compiled, I applied a feature extraction as the primary method for organizing and analyzing the content. Feature extraction is a process where specific visual, textual, and audio elements are pulled from each video and used to identify common patterns. This is especially useful for short-form video analysis, where meaning is conveyed quickly through a mix of media modes. Abstracted features such as the presence of text overlays, calls to action, emotionally charged language, protest imagery, facial expressions, and audio choices like trending sounds. I also looked at structural elements, the length of the video, caption formatting, hashtag usage, and who the creator was. These categories weren't predefined, and they emerged through consistent patterns in the extracted features. This step was essential for moving into deeper thematic analysis without relying on overly rigid coding templates. Once I had my 28 TikTok videos, I moved into the analysis phase using a feature extraction approach. This means I didn't interpret the videos based on assumptions or subjective impressions. Instead, I focused on identifying consistent observable elements across each video. My goal was to reduce the content into measurable features that I could then compare across the dataset. I constructed a coding sheet that broke down each video into specific features like tones, text overlays, hashtags, speaker identity, the presence of protest or legislative imagery, source credibility, and visual design. For example, I noted whether the speaker was a journalist, influencer, activist, or politician. I also logged the type of setting. Was it filmed in a studio, on the street, or in somebody's bedroom? These are all variables that allow me to find trends across content formats and presentation styles. Videos were selected using a keyword-based strategy, mainly using hashtags like LGBTQ news, hashtag queer politics, and hashtag trans rights. You can see those up here, as they were the most prevalent topics I saw throughout my research. I also made sure to sample across creators, both individual and organizational, and prioritize recency to ensure relevance to the current 2024 and 2025 political context. I only included videos that had at least some identifiable political message tied to LGBTQ issues, whether through spoken word, caption, or visuals. I didn't use multimodal content analysis in a traditional academic sense. Instead, I focused on identifying recurring structural and thematic analysis using a grounded feature coding method. This let me look at the content more empirically in a way that could be replicated or built upon by other researchers working with short-form video data. I'd like to go a little bit more in depth on how I analyze each video. Some examples you see here that make this video unique is the ambiguous imagery, such as this pink inverted triangle, which leads to a more curious audience and increases viewer engagement. Also, inflammatory topics and figures such as a controversial tweet by Donald Trump will prolong the viewership of those interested in the topic, along with increasing the shares on the video. Another element is the most obvious one, the man talking on the screen in front of the video. The green screen effect makes the video seem more personal, like the speaker is talking directly to the viewer. It's subconsciously guiding the viewer to watch more and interact with the video. The tone here is important too. The speaker was talking in a very urgent and talking in a very serious and urgent tone to try and grab people's attention as they scroll through. So all this wouldn't matter to my research question if it didn't ask a simple question that's not my research question. What were these videos trying to achieve? Every video has a purpose, so let's see what they might be. The first goal I noticed was to inform. You most often see these videos from news platforms and independent reporting accounts, but those can often be mistaken for entertainment creators. These videos serve to educate audiences on new issues, legislations, and governmental action. Creators use short-form content to break down complex policies, highlight urgent political developments, and explain their impact on LGBTQ communities. Features like text overlays, news clips, and personal commentary make these videos accessible and engaging. By spreading awareness quickly, TikTok became a powerful tool for mobilization, helping viewers stay informed and take action in real time. Beyond informing, many TikTok videos serve as a direct call to action. These videos urge viewers to respond to political setbacks or challenges, often rallying support for protests, petitions, or economic boycotts. An example of this is that TikTok was used to rally thousands of people to participate in the hands-off protests that happened in early April. Creators use urgent language, trending sounds, viral hashtags to spread their message quickly, mobilizing audiences in real time. Whether it's encouraging voter registration, organizing demonstrations, or boycotting companies, these videos transform awareness into activism, demonstrating the power of TikTok as a tool for political engagement within LGBTQ communities. Finally, some TikTok videos on LGBTQ politics are driven by monetization. These videos aim to generate income, whether through direct platform payouts, sponsored content, or product sales. Some creators integrate LGBTQ issues into entertainment-focused content using political tools to boost engagement and maximize interactions. While some genuinely advocate for change, others may prioritize views and virality over activism. Understanding this aspect of TikTok's ecosystem is crucial as it highlights the intersection of social justice, digital influence, and profit in online political discourse. You saw this video earlier in the presentation, but you probably didn't notice that it was trying to sell a hat. This chart summarizes the key patterns that I observed across the 28 TikTok videos in my dataset. These features help me identify how creators are shaping the political discourse around LGBTQ issues on the platform. First, looking at speaker identity, I found that about 64% of the videos were made by creators who openly identified as LGBTQ. This is a significant finding. It highlights that these political conversations are largely being driven by people within the community. The remaining 36% came from allies, news outlets, or public figures who either support LGBTQ rights or reported on related issues. This balance between lived experience and broader allyship plays an important role in building visibility and trust. Tone was another important category. While some videos were serious or urgent in tone, especially those covering legislation or discrimination, just over half used humor, satire, or casual commentary. It suggests that creators are strategically using tone to make difficult topics more engaging or to boost shareability. Humor can act as a bridge to draw viewers in before delivering a more serious message. When it comes to structure, a large portion of the videos used very intentional editing. Over 70% featured text overlays, captions, or narrator explainer format. Of these 70%, many of them included both, but the explainer format, when the speaker is talking directly to the viewer, appears slightly more. These elements serve as a purpose. They can help viewers process complex issues quickly, even if they're just casually scrolling. It also signals that creators aren't just reacting emotionally, they're packaging their message in a way that's educational and purposeful. Lastly, I analyzed how creators invite audience engagement. Almost every video used hashtags related to LGBTQ politics, current events, or activism. Many also included comment prompts or links to petitions and articles. This shows how creators use TikTok not just to raise awareness, but to build action and community participation around their messages. Overall, the data in this chart reflects a pattern of content that's deeply intentional. These creators aren't just reacting to political moments, they're actively shaping how these moments are understood and acted upon by their audiences. TikTok becomes not just a stage for performance, but a platform for digital activism. In this section of my results, I focused on the rhetorical strategies creators use to convey their political messages. As seen in the chart, the most dominant rhetorical method was emotional appeal, present in over 70% of the sample. This included personal storytelling, emotional reactions to political decisions, and empathetic framing, especially around issues like anti-trans legislation or threats to bodily autonomy. These strategies not only draw viewers in, but can help foster a strong sense of community and urgency around action. Satire and humor were also heavily used, appearing in just under half of the videos. Creators like The Daily Show's TikTok account used irony or parody to critique politicians or policies, making complex political issues more accessible. This reflects a broader TikTok trend where entertainment and activism are often blended to sustain engagement. Another notable platform was informational delivery, where creators take on a more journalistic or educational tone, often citing sources, adding captions, or using visual aids. Around 40% of the TikToks included this, showing that despite the app's reputation for short-form entertainment, there's a clear push towards credibility and political literacy. Less frequently, some creators used shock or confrontation, whether through dramatic visuals or blunt provocative statements. While these were the least common, they were often the most viral, suggesting that controversy and attention-grabbing content can still perform strongly. Ultimately, this analysis shows that the effectiveness of LGBTQ political TikToks often come from how creators balance credibility, reliability, and entertainment. The rhetorical choices reflect the community's need to both inform and emotionally mobilize, demonstrating the unique communicative power of the platform. While the study provides meaningful insight into how LGBTQ political discourse unfolds on TikTok, it's important to critically evaluate its limitations and reflect on how they shape the validity and transferability of the findings. A central challenge lies in the very nature of TikTok's algorithm. The For You page curates content based on a user's prior interactions, which complicates attempts to collect a randomized or fully representative sample. Even the act of searching for politically charged content can influence future recommendations, subtly skewing the dataset and limiting its neutrality. Additionally, as a researcher with a pre-existing presence on TikTok, my prior engagement history likely influenced the kinds of videos surfaced during the data collection. This introduces an unavoidable layer of subjectivity, reflecting a broader issue in social media research, the tension between personalized algorithms and objective analysis. Acknowledging this bias is key in contextualizing the findings, not as definitive truths, but as snapshots shaped by the platform's internal logic. There are also temporal limitations to consider. TikTok is a rapidly evolving space. Policies shift, content trends cycle quickly, and political conversations rise and fall in prominence. What appears salient today might look different in a matter of weeks, making it difficult to generalize findings over time. This fluidity is both a strength and a challenge. It makes TikTok politically potent, but also difficult to pin down through traditional research methods. If I were to revisit this project, several refinements could be made to strengthen its reliability and depth. Using multiple accounts with distinct interaction histories would offer a more diverse and less personalized dataset, counterbalancing algorithmic influence. Incorporating external data like user interviews or surveys could also triangulate the in-platform findings and bring in voices beyond the content. And extending the study beyond a larger frame of time would better capture shifts in discourse, helping map how LGBTQ political conversations develop over time. These adjustments wouldn't just address logistical concerns, they reflect a broader understanding of what it means to study social media critically. Digital discourse is complex, layered, and ever-changing, and researching it requires methods that are just as adaptive. By acknowledging these limitations and exploring ways to overcome them, this study becomes not just an endpoint, but a starting point for continued inquiry into how platforms like TikTok shape the future of queer political expression. In conclusion, this research underscores the powerful and multifaceted role TikTok plays in shaping LGBTQ+ political discourse. As a platform, it's simply not a space for entertainment. It's a space where politics, identity, and activism, and community intersect in new and complex ways. Through my analysis, it became clear that TikTok has the capacity to inform, mobilize, and even monetize political content, often simultaneously. This result speaks to the evolving ways younger audiences engage with political ideas, especially with those within marginalized communities. While this study offers a foundational look into how that process works, it also brings attention to what's still unknown. Future research should examine how different ideological perspectives interact with this kind of content, and how users with opposing views interpret or respond with the same messages. There's a value in understanding not just what is being said on TikTok, but who it reaches and how it lands. This research also highlighted the importance of being intentional in the way we engage with digital media, both as consumers and as scholars. As digital algorithms increasingly shape what we see and how we see it, critical thinking becomes a necessary tool for navigating online political spaces. Awareness of bias, whether algorithmic or personal, can help foster more honest and effective engagement within political content. Ultimately, the study shows the way politics lives on TikTok and is still being written. It's a space in flux, with immense influence and equally immense complexity. By continuing to refine our research methods and by asking thoughtful, grounded questions, we can better understand this landscape, not just to describe it, but to engage with it responsibly. TikTok may be shaping the political future of the LGBTQ+ community, but it's up to us to decide what that future will look like.
Thanks, Michael. A couple of questions and we'll be done.
Of course.
How did you determine which results generated by your method were the ones that were going to contribute to your new understanding?
I prioritized results that appeared consistently across multiple videos and categories. For example, the prevalence of information framing and calls to action were both very clearly marked by visuals and text overlays, suggested by recurring political strategies. I also tracked patterns like the use of news headlines or protest language, which added depth to my understanding of how political messages are embedded in short-form content.
How does your new understanding address a gap in the scholarly conversation?
It expands the conversation around LGBTQ political expression in the realm of short-term video like TikTok, which is understudied. Past work examined LGBTQ political identity and voting behavior, and this research adds an understanding of the media ecosystem that informs and mobilizes behavior.
All right, so think back to the initial curiosity that sparked your inquiry. I know you had like a different thing in mind than you have this, but like what other curiosities do you have now, and how has this prepared you to explore them?
So my original curiosity was to see how TikTok could have influenced voting, and how it could have specifically influenced voting within LGBTQ communities. But now I'm curious about the algorithmic influence within TikTok, how the platform chooses which voices rise, and the implications that has for political equality and its future.
Thank you.